I think we're looking for a 50 to 70% haircut. I would think when we get to the election, if it is Harris, I think the markets just tank. If it's Trump, I think they rally first and then they tank. I think that they're extremely overbought. We're really in a bubble territory.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and these are the Miles Franklin weekly specials for October 21st through October 28th, 2024, while supplies last. This week we feature gold half-ounce backdated Canadian maples at just $110 over melt. We also have backdated silver 1-ounce Britannia at just $2.99 over spot per ounce. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today is our good friend Todd Bubba Horwitz. Todd, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always great to join you, Elijah. A lot of good information on this station.
Well, thank you so much. And also your station, Bubba Trading. If you want to sign up there, we'll have the affiliate link in the description of this video along with the affiliate code there. So it helps us along the way if you're interested in Bubba's work there. So please check that out. And I did want to discuss today, there are quite a few topics. We have, the stock market maybe showing a bit of weakness here. You get your perspective on that. Also, precious metals making new all-time highs for gold, decade highs for silver, and the election's less than 2 weeks away. Where would you like to start?
It doesn't matter. I think the metals are going higher. We've said that all along. I thought that we'd see 2,700 in gold, and we're going to see probably 2,800 in gold. I thought silver we'd see 35, which I think is pretty much a foregone conclusion. I think that a lot of people realize that you may need these precious metals as a concurrency. I think we've seen the Fed has made a dramatic mistake by cutting rates. And for those who don't understand the rate system, they didn't cut rates for you, the consumer, they cut rates for the bank. The lending rate is what the banks borrow at, and then the banks make money on the difference between what they borrow it from the Fed from and what they lend it to you. So we're basically double financing. We're financing the government and the Fed, and then we're also taking the loans out, so we're financing them on both sides of the equation. It's not a very good deal.
Definitely. Now, when it comes to the moves, though, we've seen in precious metals, it seems just very dramatic, over 30% in both metals this year. So do we just continue higher into the election and the end of the year? Or do you anticipate a pullback coming anytime soon?
Oh, I would think there'll be a pretty substantial pullback shortly. Again, trying to time it is ridiculous, but we are extremely overbought, and there's going to be a pullback. Now, again, you have to make the decision: are you a trader or are you an investor? And those of you who are buying gold should not be buying the paper gold. That's what you use to trade with. If you're buying gold because you have the same concerns I do, which is that I may need it as a currency, then you should be buying physical metals and not buying the paper, because again, I've said this to you before, Elijah, I don't think there's enough paper in the world or gold in the world to cover the amount of paper that is written. But I would certainly expect a pullback, and we'll certainly look for a paper short position sometime soon here, probably not today, but certainly sometime in the very near future, because again, markets cannot continue to go straight up. We've seen pullbacks in equities, even though they've gone pretty much straight up, but there's opportunity, and that's what you're deciding. Are you investing or are you trading? If you're trading, then you want to look for an opportunity to sell some paper gold, but that has nothing to do with the physical metals that you're holding.
No, when it comes to the stock market, I know the Dow is off, I think, about 1,000 points from its high. Do you see weakness in the stock market at this moment?
It's hard to say, Elijah. We have such a little action right now. The markets have been extremely slow. You've got, the plunge protection team, which is always on duty right now. I think a lot will be determined after the election. I've said this before, so I'm not going to stop now. I think we're looking for a 50 to 70% haircut. I would think when we get to the election, if it is Harris, I think the markets just tank. If it's Trump, I think they rally first and then they tank. I think that they're extremely overbought. We're really in a bubble territory that has been inflated artificially by the Federal Reserve, by their monetary policy, by the overwhelming amount of money put in. But the lack of participation is what you really want to look at, because we're not seeing many participants in the market, which means that the only ones who are really benefit are those who have. The middle working class, they're not even able to fund their 401ks right now. And that's silly because basically that's an extra 4 or 5% that you're getting paid if you would fund your 401k.
Now, regarding the stock market and also the election, there's an interesting phenomenon that happens. It seems like it's been for many, many cycles that if you have the S&P increase over the last 3 months before the election, I think it's about 80% of the time that the incumbent party wins. But also we're seeing another opposite indicator. If you look at the betting markets, people actually betting on who's going to win, Harris versus Trump. It's about 60% chance that Trump will win right now. So what's your take on that, and who you think will end up with the presidency?
Well, I do believe that Trump will win. I believe that, you've got some interesting things happening, but let me ask you your question first. The betting market, which is more important than any other market, because that is not a poll, that's not an opinion. Those are people putting real money down to make those markets, and those aren't pennies that they're putting down. And right now, as you said, Trump is about an 8-5 favorite to win. But I think a couple of big signs out there that are telling you is, first of all, the Washington Post will not endorse Kamala Harris. Okay, Warren Buffett, who has always been a donator to both parties, except when Trump ran, he only donated to the Democratic Party. He is not endorsing or supporting Harris either. So there's a lot of, Harris is not a very good candidate. Again, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. She is not a very good candidate. She does not have good answers. And basically, everything that they ask her, if she can't answer it, she says she blames President Trump. Well, we all know that they've tried to destroy President Trump over the last 10 years, and especially since his election started. And again, I don't see it, but certainly I can't tell. But certainly I think that there's a lot of American Jews that have always voted Democratic almost automatically that are starting to switch and turn the corner. I think some of the African Americans are starting to turn the corner and realize that this country is in a real mess. And if we do not elect President Trump, we could see some real disasters to our economy, because I think the current administration wants communism or socialism.
Can you elaborate on that? What kind of disaster would you be looking for if we do see Harris winning?
Well, I think the markets would collapse. First of all, I think we'd lose a lot of jobs. I think we'd be overrun by the illegals, which again, remember that you're paying for them, I'm paying for them, your tax dollars paying for them, which is the only reason that the Federal Reserve cut rates last time was to increase the inflation. They don't want inflation, but they really do, because that really adds more tax dollars to the tax roll. It is known as the hidden tax of inflation. But I think you could see, and I don't want to get nuts here, but I think you could see a civil war in this country if this party holds power the way it is, because it has not benefited the American middle class. I think the American middle class has been in a recession, and it's only getting worse. We're seeing jobs destroyed. We're seeing jobs lost. And of course, you see what's going on in a lot of the major cities where a lot of the illegal immigration is taking place.
And if Trump wins, do you see, it still sounds like that we could be seeing a significant haircut in the stock market regardless. Is that still your view?
Yes. Again, it's one thing that who gets in, and it's one thing that what the real economy is. And if you've watched markets for any length of time, you can go back into the 80s, and you saw what happened in 87. And it wasn't just one day. The markets were selling off long before we had the culmination. You go back into the 90s, the internet bubble. You go back into the 08 where we had the housing bubble. All those markets were telling you. And I think these markets are signaling that they're tired and they're about ready to go down. And I think all you're seeing right now is the protection from the money supply and what we'll call the plunge protection team, for better lack of words, trying to sway this election. But again, I don't think anybody can hold it up. I think what we can do is see things built stronger if President Trump gets in. I think we can see a stronger country and less inflation, and we can rebuild. But we are so extremely overbought in these markets. And again, the AI stocks have become the internet stocks of the 2020s versus the 90s.
Now, you have been bullish, though, long-term for the stock market every time we've talked, right? Even if we see, 50, 70% haircut, long-term, if people are looking at the long-term, you still think they're going to be net positive. Is that still your view?
100%. Listen, if the stock market stops being positive 8.5% year over year, we have a much different country. We are no longer the United States of America. We're then the Chinese Communist Party. There is no longer the free market system. I mean, we don't have such a free market anymore anyways, but we are still the freest market in the world. And if that stops, then the markets are immaterial, because again, then there's no reason to believe that they're going to continue to go higher, or that ratio since history of 8.5% year over year is going to continue.
I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about, especially as, countries move away from the US dollar. We see the BRICS meeting this week. There's a lot of speculation about, this new currency system they might be developing. So the idea of American hegemony, or this idea that the US is the best economy, a lot of people are concerned that is going to continue, and we could be seeing a major shift happening. What is your perspective on that?
I think there's no chance at this moment. I think this is a bunch of rhetoric. I think that the countries that are getting involved are not big enough to make a dent. Look at the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar has gone up. It was last time you and I talked, it was par, which is $1. Now it's $1.04. Okay, I mean the U.S. is still the strongest in the world. My concern and everybody's concern should be that we give up that strength and go into globalism. Okay, we don't want to. We want to remain the strongest. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, the United States should become an island, because we don't need anybody else to survive. We have everything we need right here in this country, and we could actually build a wall around the entire country. But again, that's obviously not what we're going to do. But we have the capability and the ingenuity to survive forever if we would let these free markets trade and get rid of the politicians on both sides of the aisle that are continuing to really steal our money through the tax base and the way that they do things. Because, of course, inflation, when they tax you through inflation, you don't realize it. But again, all you have to do is look at any of your utility bills. There's a federal excise tax in every bill you pay. So whether you're paying it or the supplier's paying it, somebody's paying into the federal coffers, and they're just throwing our money away. I mean, the world is about $100 trillion in debt. Where's that money going to come from? And again, if we go into this globalism, then the free market system is over, and we're just all one big communist country or one big communist world.
We did just have Alex Newman on, and he was talking about how the United Nations is really working to strip nations of their sovereignty, and a lot of these decisions and agendas are just coming from these international global bodies, and governments are going along with it. We are seeing some kind of states like Florida really make laws inhibiting that kind of global governance. Your take on that, kind of the movements we're seeing on an international level to take away sovereignty, but also some positive movements on a local level to retain the sovereignty of the states or local governments?
Well, listen, again, this goes back to the Civil War comment. I mean, you could see states like Florida, Texas, and Nevada, and those states that are non-tax states want to try to secede from the Union, because again, you've got some major issues, and we don't want it. If you have the ability to earn money and you have the ability to make a living, I mean, you don't want this sovereignty taken away. You don't want globalism. We don't want all these things. I don't want to be part of Russia or China or any of the communist countries in the world. I mean, listen, for me, it's not that big a deal one way or the other, because I won't be here that long. But at the end of the day, for my kids, for my grandchildren, for your kids, your grandchildren, this is a disaster. If they get through this and get this to be what they want, which is globalism, this will be the end of the world as we know it, and we'll be basically back into being serfs for everybody.
Well, that's not a pleasant view. So how do we stand up against this and prepare accordingly?
Well, I mean, first of all, it comes back to the voters and how you vote and who you vote in. I mean, we know that our political system, they don't want to follow the Constitution anymore. Okay, that we do know, right? And government is supposed to be run city, county, state, and the federal government was never meant to be the largest employer in the world. They were only supposed to oversee what was going on. But somehow they've managed to steal all this power and all the money from all the individuals and try to take control of the states. But when you look at what's happening, if you would let government work the way it's supposed to and follow what the Constitution says, we wouldn't have so many of these issues. Okay, you have too many people that are financially benefiting, and I'm talking about in Washington, D.C., the swamp, the cabal, the deep state. They are financially benefiting from the turmoil and from the destroying of a middle-class system, Because if you go into the communist countries, they have the oligarchs and the very poor. That's what they're trying to get done here, which is why Google and Meta and companies like that went to government and said, please regulate us so that we don't have any competition, so that nobody can ever come in and recreate what we've already done. You've got too few people, government, controlling too much of the free market and too much of the economy, and they're doing a pretty crappy job, if you ask me.
Now, looking back at the big picture and where we started with precious metals, right? That's also, obviously, voting is a very good way to take a stand. Also, owning physical precious metals is a way to take some of your funds outside of the, financial system, the system that is controlled by the government and big banks. Your perspective on that way also to take a stand.
I agree. Listen, I own physical metals. I continue to buy them because, again, they may be needed as a currency. I know that you're not necessarily a fan, but cryptocurrency is another way to play, especially if you happen to be in a communist country trying to get out. You can't walk out with 1,000 ounces of gold. Okay. But I think everybody should have a representation of physical metals in their safe, in their desk, wherever, somewhere. Silver, because you need some smaller denominations. And right now in the United States, Costco, you could go there and buy it. So why not become a buyer? And again, you have to be able to afford it. And one of the big sad stories going on right now is there's a lot of over 20% of families that make over $150,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, $150,000 sounds like a lot of money, but in today's world, it's not. And that's the problem. So I think physical metals are always the way to go. I think you need to own it. I think you need to keep it, but you have to remember that if you have high net debt, like on credit cards, you need to pay those credit cards off first, because the high net debt is you're never going to get the return. Think about it. Gold returned 30% last year. Your credit card rate is 30%. So what would you rather do? Pay off the debt. But at the end of the day, you need to start accumulating, again, not your entire net worth, but I'd say everybody should have 5 to 10% of their net worth tied up in physical metals. And they're making it very easy to get it. And you're getting it from a place like Costco. They have platinum now too, they're selling. I think precious metals are the way to at least protect and also give you something that may turn into and may be needed to be used as a currency.
And if our viewers are interested in learning more, they can also go to bubbatrading.com. Can you share with us what they'll find there? And as a reminder, our affiliate link is in the description of this video.
They can find the things I do. I do a daily update every day of what's going on in the market every morning just after the open. And anybody who wants to email me, they can get my book, which is How to Trade Options, which has been written and it's almost like a textbook. There's some quizzes in there for you. What I have to do is email me at bubba@bubbatrading.com, and I'll be happy to send you a copy of my book.
Fantastic. Any last thoughts before I let you go, Bubba?
I think everybody should just be careful. And again, I don't care who you vote for. Look, obviously, I'd like you to vote for President Trump because I think he's better for the country. Whether you like him or not, I'm worried about the country, not about the candidate. I think he's the best choice. But whatever you do, get off the couch and go vote. Either way you're going to vote for. I can't tell you who to vote for, but as an American, you should take advantage of what you can do, and that is go to the polls and vote.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Bubba. You have a great day.
Thanks, Elijah.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and these are the Miles Franklin Weekly Specials for October 21st through October 28th, 2024, while supplies last. This week we feature gold half-ounce backdated Canadian maples at just $110 over melt. We also have backdated silver 1-ounce Britannia at just $2.99 over spot per ounce. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.